door a little bit here, and I'm going to talk to you about some stuff about my life, good and bad. And it's not because I'm bragging on myself, it's because I'm bragging on God.
Amen.
Everything good about me is because of the Lord.
Amen.
I'm going to pass something around, and then I'm going to pass something else around. This is my ID card for my job. My ID number is actually my old student ID number, but I went to college later in life. I work at Erie Community College in student support, and I'm also an English professor. Okay. It says my title is technical assistant. It's because I do all the accommodations for students with disabilities. All the assistive technology, proctoring tests in certain format, accommodated placement tests, you name it, adaptive equipment, everything like that, that's what I do. And I've been at the college 15 years, you can pass it around. I've been at the college, and I'm going to pass something else around that I want to show you. I've been at the college 15 years. I'm on the college senate, so I'm on the governing board of the college. We set educational policy for the college. This is an award I was given at the beginning of the year, the SUNY Erie Cares President of the College President's Award. It came with a $250 check. I really enjoyed the check. It was nice to get it. And it was a shock to me that I got it. I was one of 6 people college-wide who got it, but somebody saw that I was doing something for students above and beyond and put me in for this award. And like Bob said, I'm a musician. I went through a period in my life of about 5 years where I could not play music, which actually was the reason that I did go to college for the first time in 2002. I never could have written a script this way if I tried, trust me. I'm going to show you something else now, I'm going to pass it around. This here is a 40-year-old prison ID card. The date on it is March 21st, 1979, 40 years ago. And in this picture, I am 19 years old. And I was sentenced to 12 years in prison. And I deserved every one.
What'd you do?
I was convicted of 3 counts of attempted burglary, but I was not arrested and charged with everything I did wrong. So that's why I say I deserved every one. Now, I didn't do 12 years. At that time, they had something in New York State called zip bids, where you could get 0 to whatever. They're illegal now, they're unconstitutional. What would happen with a zip bid is the judge would give you 0 to 4, 0 to 5, 0 to 6. You would go upstate, and the parole board would set your minimum. I got 3 0 to 4s running wild, meaning consecutive. Do one, do the next one, do the next one. Now, the judge has to set the minimum. So people get 1 to 4, 2 to 5, 3 to 6. Okay? It was actually on appeal that the judge took 2 of them back and actually made them concurrent. So I have 3 felonies on my record, but they ran right on top of each other. And I did 2.5 years behind the wall. This was my prison ID from Fishkill Correctional Facility. Fishkill Correctional Facility used to be Mattawan for the criminally insane. And when I got there, the correctional department had just taken it over to make it into a prison. And there were actually still inmates there that did not have numbers. They were the old criminally insane psych patients that they had no place to put. And I can remember when we got there, the guards telling us, you're gonna see these guys with no numbers. Just stay away from them, if you can. Okay. Got arrested January 19th, 1978, 2 months after my 18th birthday. I was convicted of burglary. I will tell you something. I was a rotten, little. I was about this tall when I was 16 years old. I hung out with guys that were older than me, that were into drugs and stuff like that. So I didn't have a very good home life. We talk about honor your father and mother. My parents were, I was born last out of all my siblings. My parents were older. My dad had physical health problems and my mother had mental health problems. At one time they were good parents, I just caught them late, okay? I just want you to know, I went through my tour of duty of being angry at them. But the Bible says, honor your mother and father, not honor your mother and father only if they were good to you, okay? I found a way to forgive them because being angry at them was doing me no good. So what I did was, I was actually breaking into drugstores and stealing narcotics, all kinds of drugs, and selling them through the motorcycle club in Kingsman.
No, I know that.
And it's not lost on me that I was doing that stuff, and I have a 34-year-old daughter who's on the streets of Buffalo now as a heroin. That's a bad luck, right? So, when I was a kid, I played the drums. When I was in jail, my brother, who's now deceased, sent me a guitar. And I switched to guitar. And I started playing music, and I actually got my high school equivalency diploma when I was in prison. And then when I got out, all I really wanted to do was play music. And so 2.5 years, I did 6 months bouncing between the holding center and the old Wendy, which is the old Erie County Correctional Facility, which is now the State Pen Wendy. Then I did 6 months in Elmira, and then I did the last 1.5 years in Fishkill. When I got paroled, I didn't know till just shortly before I was going to get out that I was going to get out. I went to the parole board in April of 1980, and it didn't go well. They just like, you haven't been doing anything, you haven't been taking advantage of any rehab programs, all you've been doing is been down in that music room playing music, and it's true, that's all I was doing. My job was music room porter, and the other half of the day, I was assigned a music class. So I would go to the music room, quick, mop the rooms and everything, throw that stuff in the closet, and then I would play music. There were a lot of musicians in prison. Okay, so they just screamed at me, and there's not even enough time to tell you what my trial was like and stuff like that. But anyway, before I got convicted. But anyway. I had an open date, so that the parole board returned an open date, meaning we'll let you out if you can get a place to live and this and this and this. Nobody wanted to take a chance on it. Nobody wanted to give me a place to live. Okay. And my pride, there's certain people in my family and stuff I just did not want to ask. And I can remember my bunkie was like, Dana, this summer is going by and you could be out. But you are sitting here, why don't you just write your sister a letter and ask her if you can come? And finally I did. And she wrote back and said, you know, you're so damn good. All you had to do was ask, but you won't ask. So it was actually a Friday. They cracked my cell. The guard came down, he said, Misenheimer, come here. He said, and this was a real kind of kind-hearted guard, one of the few. And he put on this tough kind of like presentation. He goes, come here. He goes, and I'm like, what? He goes, come here, I want you to go down to the law library right now. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, you gotta go sign your papers. You're going home on Monday. It was the Friday. So when I got out, I got back to Buffalo, I was on parole for 1.5 years. And my life was pretty much blemish free. And I played music. Right away I joined bands. I can tell you, I'll just say it out loud. Joining a punk band with a felony conviction was a lot easier than trying to ask somebody for a job. So that's what I did for years. I played locally in bars. And I did the things that went on in those places. I smoked weed and I drank. I did more than drink milk, okay? I did. And you know what? Along the way, I met a woman in a bar. We had a child together. That's the daughter who's on the streets now. And I'm telling you, she's paying for that irresponsible relationship. I ought to be the safe sex poster child, you know? I really should. My daughter's paying for it, and it's not lost on me. But I was playing music, and little by little I was drinking more. And it was because of all the pain from my childhood, all the pain from being an ex-convict, all the pain in my past. And I was drinking to the point where finally it affected me, where I could not perform very well anymore. In the 80s, I was in country music bands, and I can remember going to audition for these guys that were these old timers, and you know, them saying, you know, I usually have a policy against guys in my bands drinking like you, but you're like the best drunk guitar player I've ever heard. So I thought it wasn't hurting me, but eventually it did. And so what happened was, in 1995, my older brother, who was 9 years older than me, was a huge influence on me, was killed in a car accident. If I was already drinking heavy, I kicked it up. And I got in a terrible fight 2 months after his death, and I got my neck broken. C3 and C4. I got a metal plate in my throat now. The doctors said they've never seen one that bad that didn't result in death or paralysis. And I had they did the vertebrae fusion. It was in halo traction. I had a drainage tube hanging out of the incision. And I could only speak in a whisper. And at one point, a nurse came in my room in the Erie County Medical Center, and she said, you know, they want you to start getting up. She said, I know the traction is like very heavy and stuff. She said, if I get you out of bed and help you pivot, can you sit down while I change your sheets? And I said, I'll try. And they had me on morphine and stuff. So she helped me pivot, sit, stand up, and quickly get in a chair. And as soon as I sat down, she goes like this. You sing. You're a singer. And I was kind of groggy from the morphine, and I said, well, yeah, I used to. And she started going around the room doing stuff, and all of a sudden she wheeled around and she said, well, aren't you going to ask me why I said that? And I said, well, why did you sing? And she said, your spirit spoke to me when I got close. She said, I'm a singer too. She said, don't worry, you'll sing.
Thank you, Lord.
It was like, hey, can you take care of me all the time? Yeah.
God bless her.
So, I got out of the hospital and I walked with a cane. It affected the left side of my body. I have everything back now. You'd never know it.
No.
I know I'm going over 9 minutes.
Sorry.
Thank you, Jesus. It's worth it. Praise you.
For a little bit, I quit drinking and I started again. And I drank so hard. And the last drink I took was May 21st, 1996. One day I just got up and I said, I can't do it. I had vodka in my fridge. If somebody gave me a can of beer, it was like giving me a can of water. I was drinking straight bottles of liquor. And my body was saturated at the cellular level, at the tissue level. And I quit, and I didn't know if it was going to be for a day, a week, a month. And I remember about a month after I quit, it was a year since my brother was killed. I I went for a walk in Chestnut Ridge, and the sun was shining, and it felt so good on my shoulders. And I just remember, I felt good. And I remember thinking to myself, I hadn't felt good in so long. And I'll tell you, every step of the way, I was praying. I was talking to the Lord. The thing of it is, when I wasn't drunk, I was talking to the Lord. You know? Somehow it was getting through the fog. It was getting there. He never let go of me. Never let go. Never let go. I got saved as a young teenager at Bethesda Full Gospel Tabernacle in Tonawanda. But it was kind of like shaking hands with Jesus and walking away. But it wasn't to him.
No.
It wasn't to him. It was not to him. So I quit drinking. In about 6 months, all my creativity started to come back.
Awesome.
I couldn't get enough music. I started playing all the time, writing music, but I was still playing with fire. I wasn't drinking, I wasn't tempted to, but I was still doing that. So I was about 95% ready, 95% ready to give it to the Lord, but I wasn't 100%. I had a band, the Perpetrators. We were getting ready to make a record. I was doing solo gigs and playing with my band. And at the end of 1999, the beginning of 2000, I started having terrible pain in my arm. And I couldn't grip the neck of the guitar. And I was diagnosed ultimately with severe tendonitis for the first time. Even when I was a drunk, I never canceled a gig. And I had to cancel gigs. My band helped me satisfy our remaining gigs with me just singing and not playing guitar, which was very awkward for me. But I didn't know what was going to happen. I ended up having 2 surgeries. I have screws in my elbow. I had an accident there that was repaired. I have screws in my elbow, holding everything back together.
Oh.
But I had the surgeries. They told me that it was going to be good as new. It wasn't. I switched doctors. A lot of stuff with my treatment went bad. Finally, I got a doctor who just told me the truth. He said, truthfully, you could probably bring a malpractice suit. There's a lot that's gone wrong. He said, and I can go back in and try to fix those botched surgeries, but he said, we're going to have to wait a little while. You've been cut up a lot. Your body's been through a lot. So what happened was, he said, I want you to go home and think about it for 2 weeks. Now, I already knew when I left the hospital what I was probably going to do. But I prayed about it for 2 weeks. And I went back and I said, listen, Dr. Moy, if my arm's healed, it's going to happen in the heart and mind of God. It's not going to happen because of a disability provider. It's not going to happen because of a malpractice lawsuit. It's not going to happen because of another surgery. And he said, you know what? He said, I've never seen anybody try as hard as you to get well. And he said, I'll sign any papers you need to so you can get on with your life. So he certified me as permanently partially disabled. And that's what got me to go to school for the very first time. Now, my deceased brother was a professor at Alfred State College and Alfred University and urged me to go to college. I used to stack up reasons why it was either out of reach or unnecessary. But God got me to where it was necessary.
Thank you, Lord.
And I'm going to tell you, it was hard, because being a musician defined me. I couldn't even go see my friends play, because there's an old joke about guitar players. How many guitar players does it take to screw in a light bulb? 100. 1 to screw in the light bulb, 99 to stand around and go, you're not bad, but I could have done better. It's true. It's true. But let me tell you something. I had taken a job at a machine shop. So I would take day jobs along the way in addition to being a musician. And that gave me some disability that lasted while I started college. So I had a little bit of an income. Listen, early on my teachers flagged me as being a gifted writer. I had several teachers who said, you don't know what you want to do, but you seem like you would be a natural at education. And I'd be like, no, not with that felony conviction. But I kept all that a secret. And then I finally disclosed it. I disclosed it up. And I'll tell you what. They went to the president of the college at the time, William Marion, and said, this guy was in trouble when he was younger. If he's not suitable to work in this college, nobody is. The day my disability ran out, the college hired me.
Praise Jesus.
It has led to other jobs in education. I've taught at Buff State. I've taught at Hilbert. I got an associate's degree in communication and media arts. I got a bachelor's degree in English. I have a master's degree in English.
Praise the Lord.
And it's not because of anything else. It's because of what he's done.
Amen.
I will tell you, how is it that I've got that record where the parole board screamed at me, where the judge screamed at me, where the system tried to make me feel like I was worthless? And you know what? I was a bad guy. I've broken 9 out of the 10 commandments, and it's by the grace of God I've never killed another human being. And I'm not kidding. But let me tell you something. When I get to heaven, where all that stuff I did is next to my name, it's going to be covered up with the blood of Christ.
Already is.
We talk.
Yep.
Every day I do stuff I'm not good enough to do. Every single day. I can't believe the life I have.
Praise.
And it's all because of God.
Amen.
Yes.
And I think I went over 9 minutes.
21.
It's okay.